You ever look at a building and get the feeling it's trying to say something? Well, you're right. It is. Buildings aren't just shelter. They're basically arguments made of stone and glass and steel. Each one is making a case for how we should live, what we should value, and yeah, what's beautiful.
But if they're all making arguments, why do they look so wildly different? How can one building feel so calm and logical, while the one next door is all drama and emotion? Okay, let's get into it, because the answer, it's this amazing debate that's been going on for centuries.
When you really boil it down, the history of Western architecture is kind of like a giant pendulum, and it's just swinging back and forth between two huge ideas: the desire for rational, predictable order and the pull of passionate, expressive emotion. So yeah, let's follow that swing. All right, so our story kicks off with the opening argument from, let's call them Team Order. And this is the world of classical architecture, right? Think ancient Greece and Rome. This was a style built on the idea that beauty, well, it's something you can actually calculate. The whole philosophy was, hey, the universe is governed by logic, so our buildings should be too. It makes sense, right? It was all about creating this perfect harmony using clear mathematical rules. So you're thinking balance, you're thinking symmetry, just this calm, almost intellectual kind of beauty. And this wasn't just some vague vibe they were going for. No, they had a literal rule book. The Greek orders of columns, you've got the simple, sturdy Doric, the more elegant Ionic, and that super fancy Corinthian. They were like a strict set of instructions. They told you the proportions for the entire building, making sure everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. It was basically architecture as a science.
But you know how it goes. No argument ever goes unanswered. So after centuries of all that Roman order, that pendulum starts to swing, and I mean hard, in the other direction. This is the big rebuttal, the counter-argument for emotion, for spirituality, for pure drama. And you can really feel the difference in thinking here, can't you? That calm, classical logic, gone, replaced by dramatic emotion. Those stable, horizontal lines, nope. Now we're talking soaring vertical lines, reaching up to the heavens. Rational order gets totally shattered by all these curving, dynamic shapes and tons of decoration.
And how they pull this off? Well, it was all thanks to a few absolutely brilliant engineering tricks. Gothic architects came up with things like the pointed arch, ribbed vaults, and yeah, the famous flying buttress. All of these were designed to push the massive weight of the stone roof outwards. And that freed up the walls, letting them become these incredible thin screens of stained glass. Suddenly, cathedrals were flooded with this divine light. It was architecture that was literally aspiring to something great. This whole emotional thing really hit its peak with styles like Rococo. I mean, it took all that drama and somehow made it delicate, playful, and just unbelievably ornate. The goal was to create this feeling of wonder, of sensual delight. A very far cry from the cold, hard logic of a Greek temple, that's for sure. You know, there's this quote from the Art Nouveau movement that just nails the whole idea behind the side of the debate. The point wasn't to follow a rulebook. The point was to create shapes and spaces that could move your soul directly. Just pure, irresistible emotion. Okay, so after all these centuries of emotional, super decorated design, the pendulum doesn't just swing back. Oh no, it gets violently thrown back. In the early 20th century, we get a total revolution, a radical return to a brand new kind of order, the order of pure, unadulterated function. Coming out of World War I, you had architects, especially from the famous Bauhaus school in Germany, who looked at all the old styles and thought they were just dishonest, decadent. They literally declared that ornamentation is a crime. They wanted to strip everything away, right down to its absolute essential purpose. And, just like the classical guys, they wrote a whole new rule book. But this time, it wasn't based on ancient temples. It was based on the factory. We're talking functional shapes, simple colors, and all those new industrial materials: steel, concrete, glass. The whole goal was to create a new, honest, universal design language for the modern world. And it all really came down to one single powerful idea, the mantra that defined the entire modernist movement. Form must follow function. The idea was that the purpose of a thing, a building, a chair, whatever, that was its most beautiful feature. You didn't need anything else. So, what happens when that super functional world starts to feel a little cold? A bit sterile, maybe? A little impersonal? Yeah, you guessed it. The pendulum swings again. Only this time, it comes back with a sense of humor. So by the 60s and 70s, some architects started asking exactly that. They're looking around and feeling like modernism just stripped all the personality, all the history right out of our cities. And they started to wonder, wait a minute, can't architecture be playful? Can a building actually be fun? So they took that super serious, unwavering mantra of the modernists. And they shot back with this witty, totally rebellious reply: form follows fun. And just like that, postmodernism was born. Postmodernism basically brought back everything modernism had thrown out. Ornament was back, but it was often kind of playful or ironic. Architects started mixing and matching different historical styles, creating these bold, colorful, and honestly pretty surprising buildings. The core of their argument was simple: form doesn't always need a function. Sometimes it can just be there to be delightful. So there you have it. This whole centuries-long debate just swinging away. First between the logic of order and the passion of emotion. Then between the seriousness of function and the playfulness of fun. Every single style is a reaction to whatever came before it. It's just this continuous, evolving argument about what our buildings should be for us. And that brings us right up to today, because this debate, it is far from over. I mean, just look around at the buildings going up in your own city. What arguments are they making? Are they arguing for sustainability, for new technology, for community? What do you think is coming next in this great debate?